How do you publish to Google Street View from a multi-floor Matterport virtual tour? What are Google Street View blue lines and how can you update them? How can you improve the walk-around experience of a Google Street View tour? Stay tuned.
This episode of WGAN-TV is sponsored by Momenzo. Create professional listing videos within minutes using your smartphone, automatic editing, and real estate video templates. Save 25% with coupon code GET25 at wgan.info/Momenzo. Offer may be withdrawn at any time.
Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, July 18th, 2024. You're watching WGAN-TV, a podcast for digital twin creators shaping the future of real estate today. We have an awesome show for you. How to publish to Google Street View from Matterport, plus 10 pro tips for Google Street View. Our subject matter expert is Brisbane, Australia-based Wingman Media Brisbane owner, Mike Lysov. Mike, thank you for being back on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Mike, before we jump into today's topic, tell us about Wingman Media Brisbane.
Technically, the company is focused now only on doing Google Street View. I do some orders, I do some tools for the venue marketplaces. I have a contract with the company that runs this marketplace. That's where they only use 3D tools. Even though they asked me if I can publish it, I said them, yes, I can. For some reason, they don't use me for that. They publish by themselves. There's no specific area or industry I work for. I can do a tool for anybody. Maybe that's another good idea. Maybe you need to take some niche and try to sell it. But look, we're not technically a big city. So if you focus on something specific, you might run out of clients really fast.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to stay with, and at the same time, Google kind of stopped accepting photographers. So the hire list for Google Street View photographers reduced a lot. And I've got some clients telling me that they called everybody from the list in Queensland, which is where Brisbane is located. And only 2 guys replied. One of them is me. So, and there's about 25 of them on the list.
Well, Mike, the reason I reached out to you to be my guest is you've been a longtime member of the We Get Around Network Forum. I would say nearly every question that is asked about Google Street View or Matterport plus Google Street View, you've answered. You've given very precise answers. You've been tremendously helpful to the community. Anyone that has any Google Street View related questions. I thought what we would do today is we've aggregated a list of the frequently asked questions in the We Get Around Network Forum about Matterport plus Google in particular, and then some in general questions about Google Street View. So I thought what I would do is just run through my questions and see some of them where you can demo and some we'll just have a conversation about. How's that sound?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. So I've enabled you to share your screen. It would be great if you can show us how do you publish a Matterport tour to Google Street View. And while you set up to share your screen, I just want to share with our audience that your website is www.wingmanmedia.com.au. That's for Australia.
So this is I've done 3 childcare centers for this company. They have centers everywhere across Australia. Most of them, I believe, maybe in New South Wales. But they're building centers in Queensland, and this is a brand new one they recently built. And I had a chat with a marketing manager, and she said to me, they're building another one, so it's going to be another one. They're quite huge. You will see it. I'll show you the model. They're all live on the website for this childcare center, not the center, the whole page that describes every center and everything. So there's 4 of them I've done, 2 already on Google Maps for 2 years. For some reason, the first one we did is not published. I probably need to ask why, I don't remember. But this one needs to go live, so we'll just do it right now. So just to show how big it is, you can see it's huge. I'll switch back to the floor plan. So they have multiple rooms, and every age has at least 2 different groups. So Kinder 1, Kinder 2. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to add-ons to publish it. Then we select Google Street View. Pretty much at this point, you just click until you reach something where you need to select or do anything else. So that's the first step where you need to pay attention. So what it does, I can't really confirm, but I believe Matterport camera has a GPS on board, or not GPS, just a location device that takes the location. So that's why even without place ID at the top, I'm trying to cursor here, you can see that it's actually almost sitting on the center. So that's the center. You can't see the roof in my 3D model because I trimmed it, so people can actually see the floor plan, even in 3D. But when it's publishing, it's ignoring any trim, and it's actually showing that, because I was capturing outside, it's showing you that there is a roof as well, but you can't see it in 3D. So what we need to do, we need to rotate it. I would suggest trying to align with walls. As you can see, this wall here, that's internal wall. Actually, that's a fence. So when you align it parallel to the fence, you pretty much can be sure it's right. So then you just move the model close to the fence, like this. You can check what's behind it. So you can see there's a back fence as well. As you can see here, it's not really aligning, it's kind of going away. So just adjust it a bit. So now you can be sure it's actually, you can try to move around to see everything is aligning, maybe a bit of gap here again. But it might depend how I trimmed it. So if the trim line wasn't parallel to the wall, it might create this. I believe this is totally correct. So you've done the part, but actually, this probably was stupid of me. First, what you need to do is you need to type the name of the business. This is important because if you don't select the business on Google Maps, it will be published, but you won't see any picture attached to the Google profile of this business. It will just go with no place ID. On maps, the donuts will be sitting on that business. So if somebody explore the map in the street view, they will see them, but they won't be showing on the Google business profile of the center on Google Maps. So that's critical because it's called Rise and Shine. We just type it. Rise and Shine corner. If you can't find it here, and that's what seems to be happening, Rise and Shine, see, there's not even location from Australia coming, it's all USA. I would suggest it's better just to open Google Maps, find it there. Because when you try to look at the Google Maps and you're in Australia, they're supposed to show you the first location from Australia, and that's what should happen. Oh, see, I've already been on that page, so it's selected. You can actually do and copy a place ID. Where is it? You can copy this or this, but if you just select the name, that's all you need. And paste it here. It's selected straight away, so you just click on it. That's why it's supposed to be done first, because once you select the business, it might change your adjustment, how it sits on the map. So that's what should be the first step in publishing. So I'll adjust it again. Yeah, like this. So it might not exactly with a millimeter accuracy, but at least you can guarantee it's probably 50 centimeters top difference between the, and because it's all the scans alike to each other inside. So inside they all kind of will be switched a bit if it's not precise, but it's still going to be really close to the reality. That's why Matterport is so good for publishing. Imagine you do it with a 360 camera. You're lucky if you can connect some location device to it, so it writes information inside every 360 you're capturing. But at the same time, this is builds the floor plan, and that's what it's really easy to publish.
Yeah. So, Mike, did you actually capture, copy, and paste the precise wording of Rise and Shine Kindergarten?
Yeah. I went to the Google Maps. I could use this. I don't think it's a place ID. It's more like address. The place ID, I don't think you can even copy it from anywhere, but that doesn't really matter. All you need to do is just find it on Google Maps and copy it from the search bar. Okay. Or you can select it this way and then copy it here. All you need to do is just exactly the same wording. So when you type it on Publisher on Matterport, it's coming straight away. So you don't need to look through the list.
Okay.
So we're coming back here. We aligned it. We put the name here. It's still a name. It's not a place ID because it's going to change to place ID once you click next. Next, you need to do the selection of your account. I don't think you need to be a Google Street View Trusted Photographer to publish it. Anybody with the Gmail account can actually publish tools on Google Maps. We can try to delete and I'll authorize myself again, but I think it's pretty much easy. You just click edit account.
Yes.
Google will tell you who you want to select for that. And then it just tells you, you're going to give permissions to Matterport to do something. Are you happy with that? If you say happy, it will just be attached here. You can have multiple accounts here. I remember there was a question on your list.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's keep the demo. Let's complete the demo, and then we'll be side by side to chat.
It just will leave that screen. That's why I'm trying to answer it now.
Yeah.
I don't think that you actually need to add anyone here. Maybe it's using invite collaborator. You can get permission from a client to use their Gmail account to publish on their behalf.
Yes.
But I would tell you, I wouldn't do that. Why? Because personally, I don't just publish from Matterport. I do a lot of work in Panel to VR after that. So I can't just.
Mike, let's save that discussion. Let's just complete this, and we'll finish up our demo, and then we'll chat about the different permutations.
Yeah. So we're clicking. So my account is selected. It was a multiple account. You need to select the one you're publishing with. So then we click review. See, the place ID is picked up from Google database. It's here. The business address, that's what we typed in Queensland and Australia here. So that's again some question that will be coming later.
Yes.
But I always include all scan points. I can explain why. Do you want me to explain now?
No, not just yet.
Okay. So there's three options, and we're going through this one only. So I selected the publish all visible scans. 360 views, they say not included. Yeah, I don't think they're included, but I had one too when I published 360 views, and I still had to work with them. They were on Google Maps, but they weren't connected. They say purchase, but in fact it's free. They announced at some point that it's going to be free for some time, but it's still going for a year, even more. So we click purchase, you don't pay anything for that. You click publish. And then what happens? You just need to sit and wait until the process there, because there's a 400 panoramas included. And you can expect it to take some time. Even the boss might be sitting on Amazon Web Services. It still doesn't mean they can publish stuff really fast. So you just wait for it. But meantime, you can actually go to this page, business profile for the business, and just have a look.
I'm sorry, I took you off of sharing. Did you want to go back to show something?
Not really. I'm just trying to explain that while Matterport says the processing, you can actually come to the business profile of the page of the business that you're publishing for and check if the panorama is appearing there. But
how long does it usually take for the 360 panoramas to show up?
well, look, if it's a really small business, actually, I was a bit wrong about what I just said, because you can't see panoramas on the profile until the last bit of your publishing going to Google Maps, because the last bit actually submits the place ID, submits at least that's how it's done in Pano2VR. First, they publish every 360, and then at the end, you can see the say we're publishing map links.
All right, so let me see if I can just recap here for a moment. So for those who may not even be using Matterport today, but wondering about the process, is that really the first thing you went to was your Matterport cloud account at my.matterport.com. You called up a Matterport tour that you had completed. You selected the add-on for Google, publish to Google Street View. You then entered in the name of the business. If you knew the place ID for that business, you could enter the place ID as well, I believe.
Technically, they're asking for business address there, so I'm not sure the place ID entered in the address field will work.
Got it. So
you can try. I don't know. Maybe they're smart and
but the key thing I believe is you had already given the address to Matterport of that location, so that when you went to publish to Google Street View, it already knew about where on the map the property was located. Then you needed to orientate the Matterport align the Matterport tour with that actual space, and then I'm actually happy that the name of the business didn't pop up easily, because that showed that what one might need to do is first go to Google Maps, go find the exact name of the business, because we may be so used to a business name as a trade name, but there may be some formal name. Find that name, paste it in that field, and then you were presented with three options when you wanted to publish. The first was publish all the Matterport scans. It doesn't publish the 360. I've said that incorrectly. It publishes all the Matterport 360 scans. Is that the right word to call it?
I would say it's published of every scan that actually includes 360,
but not the 360
views.
But not the 360 view. So if you've shot separately,
remember in a capture app, when you capture, when you want to scan, it says 3D scan. When you want 360 view, it says 360 view. So we can just use this so people understand what we're talking about. So
very important is, so if somebody is new to Matterport or thinking about Matterport specifically for publishing to Matterport to Google Street View, it's helpful to know that you have two options. You can either scan or capture a 360. And what that little dialog box was saying was, oh, we only publish Matterport scans to Google Maps. There was a second button there that gave you the option of selecting only the highlights reel 3D scans. And then I think that third option was just to publish one 360. I'm not quite sure why anybody would do that, but that seemed to be an option.
I think the third one lets you select the scans you want to publish. I don't remember what it said. That's why I wanted to stop and actually read it. But that's fine. Don't worry. We can
you'll post to you'll have a reason to post to the We Get Around Network forum is what that third option is once you research that. What happens when you have a Matterport tour that has multiple floors? Do you just follow the same process that you just did, and somehow magically the floors are automatically indicated on Google Maps?
Look, I went through different ideas because Google absolutely not giving us anything. We don't have, try to find the guide from Google how to do it, you will fail. So I had to go through different steps. And I think at this point, you pretty much just need the floor number. So you have multiple tour with multiple floors, and it's part of the big building. And even if it's just the same tour, like you have a 2-story building and you've done the whole building from the ground to the first floor. So what you need to do is just specify, and I guarantee you, you need to do it before publishing. You need to rename your floors in the Matterport tool with just 2 digits. Like if it's, you can even use 1 digit. You can use 0 and 1, assuming that 0 is ground floor.
That's the magic. You just answered the question is go back, rename all your floors 01, 02, 03, 04. I believe in the We Get Around Network forum, I think you also said minus was okay. Minus 01, minus 02. Am I making that up?
No, I don't remember that I was offering minus. I was offering like if it's a basement. And look, I've been in many buildings, of course, in Brisbane, Sydney, and anywhere. And I remember the basement just specified as a B. In the lift elevator, when you enter the lift, you can see like a ground, usually G0. First floor is usually level L1, L2. You can use F instead. If you want to be precise, when you capture something and there's an elevator, go inside and look at the buttons. That's what they named in the buttons, because people are going to go there. They need to understand what button to press.
So well, it's always confusing in the elevator. I'm always amazed at how the elevators are numbered related to where I want to go. But my confusion aside, if it's 2 digits, such as maybe, I don't know what you put for basement, BA, BS, B.
Because basement is going down in floors. I think the B1 will be level 1 in basement, B2 will be level below, and stuff like this.
Okay, great. So
you
might name the upper floors 01, 02, 03, 04, and the lower floors.
I don't even think you need to use 0. You can just put like if it's a ground floor, put 0. Because look, I'm confused a bit. I'm from Russia. We don't have a ground floor called the 0 floor. We call it first floor, even though it's technically maybe the ground floor.
No, I totally get that, because I'm always amazed when I get in an elevator and I'm trying to figure out, am I pressing 1 or am I pressing
M? And sometimes, they have multiple ground floors because buildings sit on a slope.
Yeah.
In one side of the building, the ground floor might be the floor
all right.
below.
That's a show for a different day. Is talk about our different angst regarding elevators. And but the short answer is name your floors with 1 or 2 digits.
Yeah, actually 3 if it's 100. If it's 100th floor, it needs to be 3. So I think they might have some limit. But for some reason, if you just try to publish something that's called floor 1, floor 2, like what the Matterport usually does when they create a new floor, I think they're just ignoring it. I've never seen like it's not even cut off at 2 digits or 2 letters. It's completely removed. And maybe the reason for that, because when you call the one floor 1, and when you call another floor above or below floor 2, what you have, if they're using only 4 digits, they will be still called one, the same, just will be floor.
Okay. So the good news is we used one of your examples in the We Get Around Network forum to post that has multiple levels, and you can actually see, as I recall, it said L1, L2, L3.
Yeah. Want to be precise, use with letters, L1, G0. Want to be just absolutely bold, just call it with a number. That's it.
Got it. Overstood. I was going to ask you a question about only publishing some Matterport scans to Google Street View. It sounded like that the answer was option 2, which was your highlight reel. If you only wanted to publish, that presumably the scans you wanted to publish were in your highlight reel, and that would make it easy to publish only those scans to Google Street View. So that third option, we don't know the answer, is are you able to select 1 or more scans manually to upload to Google Street View? I think what I'm going to ask our viewers to do is check out the We Get Around Network forum, WeGetAroundNetworkForum.com. And hopefully, Mike, you have a moment after the show, you could just start a discussion on that topic.
Sure.
Would be helpful.
Look, I personally think if the company or business that hiring you, they only want Google Maps tool, but for some reason they don't want like a 200 panoramas. What you can do, because what I do with this tool, like the one I showed to you, this is actually used on the website as a 3D tool. So they want to have a Matterport tool on their website. That's why it's captured with a maximum density and everything. And that's why it generated 400 panoramas. If they call me and told me, "Oh, Mike, we don't want like a walk every 3 meters. We're happy with just you jumping from one room to another, like it's done with any DSLR or mirrorless camera, because people just won't spend so much time making shots every 3 meters. If that's the case, I would just not use highlight reel. I would just capture like a really bad in quality of 3D dollhouse tour, but that still will be jumping from room to room. Maybe I would in that childcare center, I would need shots in the doorway to connect 2 different rooms. But the Pro 3 is fantastic. It can see stuff 10 meters away, and the rooms there are not 10 meters long. So I would do one.
Okay, well, this begs a lot of questions. It's you mentioned earlier you use a different tool, Pano 2 VR. So are you using Matterport to publish the hundreds of 360s to Google Street View, and then using Pano 2 VR to curate which 360s you want to remove from Google Street View?
No. What I do, I disable all technical scans behind furniture, in some corners where I just need the quality of the dollhouse.
Yes.
Then I come to the tool when it's ready, to the 3D tool. I disable all these points because there's no benefits from them. Like nobody wants to go behind the couch and look what's between the walls.
So if you disable the scan within Matterport, then it's not going to publish to Google Street.
Yeah, that's what the first option is. It says it will publish all visible scans.
All visible.
So if you disable the scan, then it's not visible, so it's not published. But like I said, for someone who doesn't want Matterport tool at all, and I have a lot of businesses that are not using my tools on the website, 3D tools. I don't know what's the reason, because they cost like some money for hosting, or they just don't want it. Some of the businesses don't have websites. Like I've done some for franchise, and they have a common website for the franchise, and then they have nothing for the particular location. So they just don't have any space to publish the tools.
Okay.
Online.
All right. So I got a lot of questions to get through with you on the show. Let's say you've published it, and for some reason, client says, could you unpublish that? Can you do that using the Matterport Workshop Google Street View add-on and unpublish?
Yeah, you can unpublish from Matterport, but because I'm using Pano 2 VR, and once I get the data on Google Maps, I can see all the 360 published, every scan actually. I can see all scans published. There's no lost panorama that doesn't have any place ID. It happens sometime. Then I just go to Pano 2 VR and then download it to Pano 2 VR. It's kind of it's not just a way to edit the tools. It's a way to have a backup version of it without having anything on Matterport.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing, let me see if I understand this, is that you publish the tour to Google Street View from Matterport. That's easy peasy, lemon squeezy, totally easy. And it builds what people in this space call the constellation. You're not figuring out how to connect the dots. It literally, the dots are already connected for you. That said, sometimes it puts too many links and it gets really confusing within Google Street View.
Sorry, Dan. It's not sometimes. It's all the times. That's why I use Pano 2 VR.
Okay, so you then use Pano 2 VR, sign into Google Street View with your same Google Street View account, just like it was linked to Matterport. You download the entire tour to Pano 2 VR, which is at pano2vr.com, and then you curate the tour and the connections of how the different 360s are connected. And presumably what you're doing there is you may either eliminate some of the 360s perhaps, and eliminate some of the connections so that there are not so many options for the consumer to have eight ways from Sunday to exit a scan. It has too many what we call sergeants. Could you explain what those sergeants are?
Not sure what you mean.
Or chevrons. The chevrons. The things.
This like a pointy thing, right? On Google Maps.
Yeah. So
look, the problem with Matterport Publisher, and I don't understand why they're doing that, because they have a 3D model. They know what the walls are. They have connection, like when you walk in the tour, you can't go through the wall.
So
Why
is that
they're doing it-
sometimes, Mike, is that sometimes what happens is when you publish a Matterport tour to Google Street View, it ends up letting you walk through a wall, and that's why
It,
you're down.
happen, it happens with every publisher. And it happens,
Okay, got it. Every time you publish, so it's easy to publish from Matterport to Google Street View, but if you really want your tour to look professional, you need a Google Street View moderator tool like Pano 2 VR so that you can make sure that people can't walk through walls, that they won't be given a sergeant, an arrow that lets them literally walk through a wall.
it's not just the send through wall. They don't understand what they send, because imagine that, like in a tour, you kind of went through the 50 scans over and land at the 51 at the end where you can't even see where you come from. So that's what they're doing, and I don't understand why. So for that reason, I have to use Pano 2 VR. And another reason why I use Pano 2 VR, because Matterport doesn't let us to put Nadir logo inside. So all the tours I do, I brand them with a Nadir logo. That's
so for example, if a viewer has ever seen a logo in the Nadir in the bottom of the tour, Matterport doesn't enable that feature with Google Street View. So you're using Pano 2 VR to add the client's logo or your logo in the Nadir in the bottom of a 360. And a tool like Pano 2 VR enables you to do that.
Sorry?
A tool like Pano 2 VR enables you to add a logo as an example.
Yeah, that's correct.
Stay tuned for more WGAN-TV. This episode is sponsored by Momenzo. Create professional listing videos within minutes using your smartphone, automatic editing, and real estate video templates. Save 25% with coupon code GET25 at wgan.info/Momenzo. Offer may be withdrawn at any time.
So what I do in Pano 2 VR, I clean excessive connections, and I put my logo, and then I publish it again. And by the time I do it, I would either click on Matterport Publisher to delete the tool, because I have a backup copy in my computer. So I don't need this Matterport to be sitting. I don't need this tool to be sitting on maps from Matterport. I can delete it, and then I'll just publish it from Pano 2 VR. Or I can click the button in the Pano 2 VR and delete it from there.
Okay. So you just published that tour to Google Maps. How long does it usually take for the 360s to be viewable? And then how long does it take to actually have those 360s connected by Google Street View?
Look, I think it really depends on location, country, and things. I've seen there were cases when I couldn't see it working for a week. Now, technically, you can expect, like at least in Australia, I publish in Australia. If this is in Australia, you can expect everything working within 2-3 days. And I would suggest don't touch anything until it's working and you see the problems. Because if you start touching it, look, if I go now to check my account for the Google Street View Trusted Photographer, because this tool is publishing now, it will be sitting there without place ID. Until the last bit from the publisher from Matterport comes to Google server, it won't be attached to any ID. That's why there's no point to kind of checking it all the time. If you want, we can share the screen. We'll go there and we will see in my account, the last tool is what we're currently publishing.
Okay, so for clarification, because this question comes up frequently in the We Get Around Network forum, is, hey, I've published my tour to Google Maps. I can see my 360s, but they're not linked together. Have I done something wrong, or when will that happen? And the answer is it's all over the board. It may be 2 days, it may be a week, it might be 10 days. There isn't any guarantee from Google about how long it takes, but it will eventually be linked together. Be patient. Careful, if you're doing this for a client, don't promise it's going to be available tomorrow or I'm going to publish it to Google Street View tomorrow, because the client's going to go look, they're going to see 360s, but they're not linked together. It takes some time. It's one of those variables about Google that's kind of a mystery of there's no guarantee of how many days it will take, and there's no
Yeah,
formula
absolutely. We
based
don't
on the
have any
number of
time frame.
scans, the location in the world of when your tour. Be patient. Don't touch it. Don't use a tool like Pano 2 VR until you've actually see the tour is fully assembled on Google Street View. I think that's what I'm hearing, correct?
No, if they're all published, you can grab it with Pano 2 VR because the map will be already there. If Matterport tells you it's published, it doesn't mean it's working. It just published. But once it tells you it's published, you can go to Pano 2 VR and download it. It will be all 360 and maps of the links.
Okay.
So you don't need to wait just to get it to Pano 2 VR, but you need to wait till it's fully functional in Google Maps. If you want to call your client and say, Mike, it's working, go and check. That's where you need to wait 2-3 days.
Yes.
Because it won't be working straight away.
Plus, in your case, what you're saying, even once it's published, you really do need a tool like Pano 2 VR. There are others, but Pano 2 VR, the tool that you use, will enable you to moderate the tour, reduce the number of scans, improve the walking experience, add the logo. What about stairs? If you have multiple floors, how are stairs handled in Google Street View?
Well, on the same way, if you have like what it's called stair landing, when you go between the stairs, like in the middle of the floor, I usually rename the floor as the stair landing. So if I'm on the first floor and I enter the door to the stairs, I will still be designating the scans before the stair landing to this floor. Then on the stair landing, I will change it to another floor. So when people walk in,
so the answer is it depends on which floor you've assigned the landing. Have you assigned the staircase as its own floor? That doesn't seem to make sense. Or have you assigned it to the?
No, it's not its own floor. Like I say, you on the floor 15, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a task to capture the floor 16 as well.
Yeah.
So you once you're on the floor 15, your floor number will be 15 in Matterport tour. Then you can choose. There's no kind of rules or anything. You can call the whole stairs with landing and the boss set. You can call it the same number, 15, and then change once you enter the number 16 floor. Or you can change the floor to 16 and the stair landing.
Okay. So the short answer
it's not a specific floor number. You just keep the same number until you think it's good to switch to another floor.
So the short answer is, as the photographer, just assign the staircase to the floor level that you'd like it attached to, whether that's the floor below or the floor above. Yeah. When you were uploading, when you were going to publish from Matterport to Google Street View, you had already connected your Google Street View account to Matterport. You gave Matterport permission to use your credential to log into Google Street View. Explain the process of how you do this for a client that wants the tour published via their Google Street View account versus your Google Street View account.
I don't usually do it and I don't offer it for the reason that I still need to edit it in Pano 2 VR. It's going to create a lot of problems if I publish with my client account, and then how I'm going to connect and download it in Pano 2 VR. They will need me to give authorization for the Pano 2 VR account as well.
Yes. And I'm in total agreement with you, even for other reasons when we start talking a little bit later about pricing. But I would say the short answer is if your client twists your arm and you need to, then they need to have their own Google Street View account, and then they're going to need to give you the credentials so that you can add and give Matterport permission to publish to that account. But that said, it's not necessarily for our group, our forum, our community. It's not necessary for photographers. It's not necessarily a best practice to give up control because you want to be able to moderate that tour, be able to make changes, and you may need at some future point to make additional changes. You may need at some future point to take the tour down, whatever the reasons are. And if as soon as you publish it to a client's account, you've lost control of that tour.
Yeah, I just won't be able to do anything. And look, you asking how they can actually ask you to publish on the account. Before I went to that section to publish the tour, I didn't know that you can invite collaborator. So that's your way. They can't just tell you the password and the Gmail account name. Nobody will do it. So what they can do, you can actually make them collaborator. They will come to that interface. They will enter their own account. They will enter the password that you won't see. And then when they tell you, please publish on our account, you just select this account and publish. That's it. But like I said, you won't be able to edit it. That's the problem.
Yeah, if you're new to this world, and I think Mike has just given you great advice, which is publish it to your own Google Street View account, and frankly, get a tool like Pano2 VR in order to be able to moderate the tour. What's the difference between Google Maps and Google Street View?
Technically none. What's the Google, I think, started with is the capturing roads and everything for people to navigate and see around. Then they made a tool called Business Inside View, and it was the tool inside the business. And I think they're just reverting back to calling everything as a street view. So it's a street view for business or street view for roads. I don't see, like, every time I see
it's a semantic thing. It's just sometimes
just whatever people used to name the product. I had a problem with my client. I offered him to do it when I was walking around, and he said no. And then he called me in a week and said, "Can you do that?" I said, I think I visited you a week ago. And he said, "Oh, you just told something I don't understand. I want this." And so that's just a synonym of the things I do. I can't just call you 5 terms. You're going to be confused with them.
Totally get it. So, blue line. What are blue lines?
Blue line is the line that actually recorded in a different way. So the blue line is how we do blue line. You need a camera that can do that.
Well, Mike, what is a blue line for our audience?
Blue line is something like when you do the tour of a business, you actually do just like a donut style thing. It's a hotspot. You jump from one hotspot to another. And it's represented on Google as a circle. So every tour published from Matterport will be represented, every 360 from Matterport tour will be turned into circle on Google Maps. So when you know that pigment thing, the yellow figure of Google, so you need to click on it to enable Street View. And then when you see, it's actually both of them are Street View. So blue line is Street View, and you will see donuts as well. They're all called now Street View, and they actually turn on with this pigment thing.
Let me explain it a little bit differently, because if you're not familiar with blue lines, the way people typically ask a question is to say, "Hey, when I go to Google Street View, my clients has showed me or said that the view outside their business is old." It may be a restaurant, for example, and the restaurant is a new restaurant, but they took over a previous restaurant space. And so when you go down Google Street View, you look at the building, you see the old restaurant rather than the new restaurant. So the client says something like, "Hey, can you update Google Street View?" And that's what people also internally will talk about as the blue lines on Google Maps. So how do you override old Google Street View blue lines with a current view?
Look, first, I wouldn't be promising any business that you can help me with that. You have no control over this media. I was caught in the situation when I thought, oh, I'll just start offering people businesses to get promotion on the whole street because I can create a blue line for them going through the street, and they will be there, their logo at the bottom. So one business agreed. I get my friend engaged because my car is huge. It's a van, and he has a really tiny car, like even probably, I don't remember the model. Doesn't matter. So he came to that place. It was a bit of drive for us. We drove both directions. It was 2.5 kilometers each way. That's what we promised him. I asked very little for that because I wanted to test it. And at the end of the day, it's went really bad because look, I didn't even know it's happening in Google Maps. So you can have a blue line on the street that's actually have a multiple timelines. Like in one spot, you have a timeline with 2 different dates. In another spot, just moving 5 meters further, or 10 or 50, there's another timeline. It's the same direction, and you can't see the previous timeline anymore there. So what happened when I published it on Google Maps, and he only wanted, apart from promotion that I offered, he only wanted me to update the actual street view opposite his business because it was the private house, and then they knocked it down and built the childcare center. That's not the Rise and Shine; it's a different one. And I tried to do everything, and it came up with the problem that opposite his his building, the timeline that existed there, it didn't include my 360 at all. My blue line wasn't there. It was starting showing like a 50 meters away, then it disappearing and showing again. So at the end of the day, I told him I can't charge you for that, but if you can pay like $100, you still got like the whole street of 2.5 kilometers. There's hundreds of photographs with your logo.
Yeah. So I've asked Google in person this exact question, and it's been some time since I asked that question. And so let me see if I can build on what you've said. The first thing, totally agree with you. Don't promise your client that you can update those blue lines because it's more of an art than it is a science. That said, what I heard Google tell me was 3 things about trying to update the blue lines in front of a business. Google is looking for quality photography. So the better the 360 imagery, the more likely you'll have an opportunity to replace something that was shot with a lower resolution. And second is that the 360, the distance is a longer piece. So if you're trying to just shoot the 360s in front of a business, that may not be long enough to replace when there's something that's 2-3 kilometers, many miles of contiguous space. Mm-hmm. So your likelihood of success is actually doing a lot more 360s to do a lot more
to do the whole street.
To do the whole street in order to replace a segment, because in whatever this secret sauce that Google has of deciding when to replace a blue line, and as you said, it doesn't necessarily replace it. It's providing a timeline. So there may be 10 times that street had Google Street View done, and you can go back in time to see what that street looks like. But if you want yours to be on the top and the thing that's displayed, better camera, better quality images, longer piece of road, and that will help you. But it's not a given. Now, that said, Mike, how do you then attach the Google Street View, the blue line, to go inside of a business?
Look, I don't think it's going to work because the whole idea of how it's done is that you need to record a 360-degree video, and it kind of attaches your camera. I'm using Pilot Era. Your camera should have a location data enabled.
Okay. So just for our viewers, I want to point out you're using a Pilot PILOT ERA ERA camera, and there are many versions of that camera now.
I think the one they called One, it should work too. They have another one which called Pana X, I believe. I think it will work too. As long as they have the publisher software inside the camera, that will work.
Yes, and I would just point out, because that line of cameras, while it's multifunctional and does lots of different use cases, they've done a really awesome job of having a workflow for press this button to shoot specifically for Google Street View and to publish to Google Street View with a very simple workflow that doesn't necessarily mean you have to download it to your computer before you upload it to Google. You can go right from the camera if you want.
They don't even supply any tools to do on a desktop. Maybe for a different camera, but Pilot Era, it's just a built-in.
Yeah,
So
publishes right to Google Street View. But you know, you may have a reason where you want your workflow to edit your 360s before you actually publish them to Google Street View. The line of cameras from Pilot Era, ERA, enables you to publish directly from the camera to Google Street View, and it has the GPS built into the camera, so it knows exactly where it is. Two things, Mike. I've had some success of connecting a blue line into a building, but you know, I would say it's hit or miss, where you literally go from the street into the business, and somehow magically Google figured that out and connected it. But I wouldn't promise any business you can do that. The second is there's a new technique. It's something that Google has just started playing with, and I would encourage our viewers to go to the We Get Around Network forum, WeGetAroundNetworkForum.com, and look for a discussion by Kevin Dole at Home 3D within the We Get Around Network forum. And Google actually has a workflow that enables a photographer to shoot from the street, go inside the business, be able to go outside the business. At the time that Kevin did this post in July 2024, there may be only 10 photographers in the world that have actually been trained on this new process that Google hasn't really rolled out yet to the rest of the world. If they do roll it out to photographers, it's super exciting and will probably make us feel really good about being able to go from blue lines into a business, which one would expect intuitively that's how it should work. I see that restaurant, now I want to walk into the restaurant. Let's switch topics. If I publish my Matterport tour to Google Street View via Matterport, but it only shows up as private, now what?
The tour shown as private?
One of our viewers wrote that question that says the tour showing up, maybe it's showing up in their Google Street View account as private and they haven't set it to public yet. I'm guessing that's what's happened.
I'm not aware of any settings for the tours that you can make private to public. They're all public. Once they're on maps, everybody can access them. Maybe what they mean, maybe they mean that they can't see it on a business profile, the business they created it for. But that's probably why they need to check that ID is correct, place ID is correct. And actually, when you look at your account, you need to see if there is any place name, if they're grouped. Because when you do the tour, it's not just you see single images. When you do a tour for a business, like I published right now, Rise and Shine and Warner, when it's built, it's going to be grouped, and the name of the business will be at the top of this group. If it's not going with a place ID, then you will see no place ID on the 360. That's it.
So I'm going to guess that's probably why they can't see it, is that they think they've published it to the correct business, but it's actually they published it maybe to a different business or a different place, and it's missing that place ID. Do you know how to apply for a place ID?
I believe you can't look even on Banner to VR. You can't just. I think it's a problem with Google publishing. You can't edit anything on Google Maps. If you want to update something, if one of Panorama's missing place ID, or you kind of lost one when you were publishing, you forget to build connection for 1.360. So you published and realized 1.360 missing because you didn't connect it to anything. Maybe it's not even included in the tour and Pilot VR. So what you need to do, you need to delete it and then check that everything is the way you want to publish, and then publish again. So if one panorama missing a place ID, you need to assign place ID. If you do it for Matterport, you assign it actually when it's publishing. If it happens you publish from Matterport publisher, you have like a 300 panoramas, 299 has a name and it's attached to the business, but one is showing on your account as a no place ID. I would suggest to wait at least, because you can start doing stuff, but it's not working the way you want because you didn't give enough time for Google to apply all the links. But if you come like in 3 days and you see 99 panoramas published and one as attached to your account as no place ID, it won't be shown on the business profile too, because it has no place ID. It might even break your tool because it's kind of completely detached from anything 360. In that case, delete it again in publisher and then publish it again. It's not you, it's just the way Google sometimes accept when you upload everything. It can be time delay. Software should handle it. I can see in PanoTVR, because I can see every panorama publishing with the progress. Sometimes I see there's a huge delays. They just stop. You see nothing going uploaded. They can stay like this for a minute and then they start uploading again. So that maybe was the case, and somehow one panorama detached from everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sometimes some things are just a mystery with Google Street View, and
yeah.
that place ID is really super important. So if you want to make sure your tour shows up on the map, make sure you're using the correct place ID that's associated with that business. Mike, let me ask you this question. I know you have a cold. And you've been so gracious to do the show today. Despite that, we're only about halfway through the questions that I have. Do you think we could just schedule a part 2? Thank you to our audience for our patience for letting us reschedule a part 2. Mike, thank you for today's show. Thanks for agreeing to come back. And just a reminder for our audience, you've been our subject matter expert today, Brisbane, Australia-based Wingman Media, Brisbane owner, Mike Lysov. Mike, thanks again for being on the show today.
Thank you, Dan, for having me.
And I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and you've been watching WGAN-TV.
This episode of WGAN-TV was sponsored by Momenzo. Create professional listing videos within minutes using your smartphone, automatic editing, and real estate video templates. Save 25% with coupon code GET25 at wgan.info/Momenzo. Offer may be withdrawn at any time.